It's going to be hard for him to beat Chris Eubank because Chris Eubank is first bigger, he's faster.
Ben's got the ferocity and he's got the art and the ferocity and art and all of that.
I think Conor Benn beats Eubank.
Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn's upcoming fight, which is set for April 26, 2025 at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London, is being discussed by boxing experts. Heavyweight champion Tyson Fury and boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. both predict that Eubank Jr. will win because of his advantage in the middleweight division and Benn's promotion from the welterweight division. Fury underlined that Eubank Jr. is preferred in the weight class, while Jones emphasized Eubank Jr.'s SS background and recent advancements, indicating a difficult task for Benn in the fight, which was appropriately dubbed fatal. Fury is scheduled for April 26, 2025, at London's Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. This event will not only display the fighters' prowess, but also carry on their dad's legacy, as the bout was postponed. This battle has been rescheduled since Benn tested positive for cocaine after serving his suspension and was cleared to fight in the UK once more, according to Roy Jones Jr. Given Chris Eubank Jr.'s stature, quickness, and major bout experience, Benn stands little chance against him. Benn is at a disadvantage moving up in weight while Eubank is naturally bigger and accustomed to high-stakes bouts, said Jones, who had previously trained Eubank Jr. Chris is bigger, faster, and has been in bigger fights. Jones clarified that he doesn't think Benn can actually get beyond these obstacles, wondering if Benn has what it takes to use these advantages to defeat Eubank. Jones is adamant that Eubank Jr. will prevail in their next matchup.
It's going to be hard for him to beat Chris Eubank because Chris Eubank is first bigger, he's faster, he hits harder, he's had more experience in really big fights. I don't see how you're going to beat Chris Eubank Jr.
Unexpectedly, Chris Eubank's son has predicted that his son Chris Eubank Jr. will fall short against Conor, even though Benn is a great warrior. Eubank Jr. has lost some of his ability to absorb punches, which could be a serious problem against a relentless fighter like Benn. He's too heavy, weighing 168 pounds, and now he's facing a dangerous man in Conor. Eubank Sr. is extremely worried about the matchup, believing that Benn is too dangerous for his son at this point in his career. Senior Ben Eubank stated, "I'm not disparaging my son, but I am aware of Conor's true danger." Eubank Sr. has never held back when discussing his son's professional decisions, and this declaration confirms his earlier cautions. He has previously voiced concerns regarding weight reductions and the toll they take on a fighter's durability. Now that Eubank Jr. has experienced knockout losses recently, his father thinks Benn might be the one to take advantage of that weakness. While many view Eubank Jr. or TH on size as an advantage, his father contends that experience and power won't matter if his son is unable to withstand Benn's blows.
Was a fantastic fighter, is a fantastic fighter, but he's too heavy. Okay, he is a 168-pound fighter. For him to get down to 160 now is too much for him. So Conor would be fighting someone who has lost his punch resistance, which was proven with this Mr. Smith. Again, I don't talk against my son. I'm there to protect him because I know how dangerous this young man is in Conor Benn. I know how dangerous he is. 147 fights 147. Leave Junior alone.
Anthony Joshua has declared his excitement for the fight between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, describing it as a huge event that will electrify the boxing world. He thinks the bout will sell out a stadium and highlight the sport at its best. After all, boxing is all about big fights, big crowds, and a lot of energy. Joshua claimed that he highlighted how the rivalry and family legacy add added intrigue, making it a must-watch. The sport is booming, and bouts like this demonstrate that boxing is a major event. Joshua is interested to watch how both fighters respond to the strain of the large stakes.
Sure. By the way, that was interesting. Eubank Benn, that's a fight you want to see, no?
That is a fight I want to see.
Good fight, isn't it?
For sure, it is a good fight.
Big fight as well, like stadium, packed out.
Are we saying stadium?
I think so. I think
you think it'll do well?
Yeah.
Wembley, Tottenham, Cardiff.
Tottenham.
Tottenham, yeah?
60,000.
That'll work out well.
Yeah, I think Wembley might just be pushing it just a little bit.
I think they can
only,
do it.
only a few certain men can do Wembley.
Boxing's on the big stage.
Agreed.
Look at this.
Agreed.
It's amazing.
You've had a nice little break. I saw you out in Nigeria. Do you feel like re-energized, ready to go again?
You know I do.
I know you do.
You know I do.
Yeah.
But more so after my last fight, I took some time out. I let my body heal, which I'm still working on now. And I declined some business opportunities so I can focus on the sport, which takes off mental pressure, not just physical stuff. So I let my body heal physically. And then the mental aspect, I've obviously declined some things that are draining mentally. And I went away with the family, which is always good. And we're back again, ready for...
Hamza Shiras, a British middleweight contender, has stated his confidence in Conor Benn's prospects versus Chris Eubank Jr. in their impending showdown. Shiras, who has expressed desire in taking on Eubank Jr., think that Benn's aggressive strategy and high-pressure style may be the secret to winning. I believe Conor, according to a recent interview, Ben outperforms Chris Eubank Jr., despite the fact that Eubank Jr. has greater experience and a bigger benefit. Shiras raised worries about Eubank Jr. Iera's recent performances, indicating that he may have slowed down and is not as durable as before, and pointed out that these considerations could not be sufficient if Ben can control the fight's tempo. Shiras also said that if Ben uses constant pressure, Eubank Jr. might find it difficult to respond to inquiries about his capacity to manage Ben's intensity. Ben has a genuine chance to pull off an upset in this next fight, according to Shira.
And won't get the better of Eubank?
I think Conor Benn beats Eubank, but I kind of need Eubank to win. Do you know what I mean? For myself, from a selfish perspective, I need him to win.
Do you want to fight him?
Yeah, exactly.
Would it be the first defence if you win that, or when you win that WBC title? Is that someone that you would choose?
100%, 100%. As long as obviously everyone's okay with it, it'd be that. I mean, why not? It'd be the biggest fight for me next in boxing, and I haven't got long left in the 160-pound division, so it's not me going on about taking certain defences. It's all about just fighting the big fight.
Sure. And it lines up because obviously your Feb 22, we don't know the exact date, but April 26 is being touted. So if Chris Eubank does win, maybe it does work out as a summer fight.
Yep.
It's a stadium, isn't it?
Yeah, it could be. It could be for sure. And I mean, these hopefully at the Emirates. Do you know what I mean? That'd be a massive dream of mine.
Not White Hart Lane, no.
No.
Mark Tibbs expressed his opinions about the impending bout between Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr., highlighting that weight. Although fights aren't always decided by the scales, he said that weight management is crucial and that it's hard to tell how a fighter is handling their cut unless you're in the training camp. Cuts can frequently decide the outcome of a fight. Tibbs recognized Eubank Jr.'s toughness and durability, emphasizing that he has always been a difficult fighter to defeat, while also acknowledging Benn's fierce heart and aggressive style, which have made him an exciting fighter. When Ben has been active, he has appeared sharp and dangerous. Considering the background of Eubank Jr., Tibbs attributed his development as a powerful and disciplined fighter to his father, Chris Eubank Sr. He described how Eubank Jr. was transferred to New York for training, where he was trained to become psychologically and physically tough. Tibbs also commended the ways in which Chris Eubank Sr. and Nigel Benn have shaped their sons' fighting careers to embody their father's traditions.
It's a special time for myself as a fan in this fight, yeah, for sure.
If you're Conor Benn, what does he have to do to go up 2 weight classes and beat Eubank?
Well, listen, look, fights are won and lost on the scales most of the time. You get me? Not most of the time, but fights are won and lost on the scales. Unless you're in the camp and you're around the camp, it's difficult to make judgments. But listen, Ben's got the ferocity and he's got the art, and the ferocity and art and all of that. He's got and he has looked good. He has looked good of late. When he was active. What's his name? The other guy, Eubanks, for me, he's been a little bit inactive, but he's an hard fucker and all. I'll tell you what, when his old man sent him out to New York, I forget who he was with now.
Although he acknowledged that Eubank Jr. hasn't been as active as Ben Tibb, he still thinks this fight will be fantastic and is excited for it. He also acknowledged that, despite what some may think, he likes Eubank Jr. and sees parallels between the two fighters and their legendary fathers. In the end, Tibbs saw this as a thrilling battle between two highly skilled and prepared fighters. Although he did not provide a specific prediction, he did stress that the weight reduction and pre-fight preparation would be critical in determining the result.
Ferocity and art and all of that, he's got, and he has looked good. He has looked good of late. When he was, when he was active. What's his name? The other guy, Eubanks. For me, he's been a little bit inactive, but he's an hard fucker and all. I'll tell you what, when his old man sent him out to New York, I forget who he was with now, but he was out in New York. His old man's conditioned him. His old man. I like the job that both their fathers have done on their kids. I like Eubank, the way he talks. I'm probably going to piss a lot of people off here now, but I like him. I can't say I dislike him. And Ben, and he reminds me of his old man. You know what I mean? He reminds me of his old man. So yeah, great fight, great fight. I'm looking forward to it.
And then just circling back to your gym, what's the latest with everyone else, the likes of John Hedges, Tommy Fletcher, etc.?
Yeah, John Hedges, he's back in the gym. He's looking a lot trimmer now, and I'm hearing there's going to be an announcement soon.
Dave Coldwell gave a thorough study of both fighters in his talk show about the impending bout between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. Although he conceded that Eubank Jr. should, in theory, have the advantage because of his size, he also raised important issues that could favor Benn despite being the bigger man. Coldwell made the argument that Eubank Jr. isn't always great. He claimed that while size can be an advantage, it only applies when the bigger fighter is truly elite. In Eubank Jr.'s case, Coldwell believed he had displayed vulnerabilities, especially in his most recent fight, where he appeared elderly for the first time in his career. Coldwell also brought up Eubank Jr.'s history of sparring with heavyweights, which his father, Chris Eubank Sr., used to emphasize as a show of toughness, but Coldwell proposed that such severe sparring wears a fighter down over time, possibly reducing their peak years around age 35 while still causing them to lose weight. On the other side, Eubank Jr. may suddenly be experiencing the consequences of all those years spent at the gym. Although he wasn't entirely convinced by Benn's strength, Coldwell acknowledged Benn's speed and aggression and noted that there had been a time in his career when he didn't seem like a huge puncher, followed by a brief period in which he suddenly looked devastating, but that he no longer appears to be as heavy-handed. Although Coldwell was hesitant to make a final prediction, he suggested that Benn has a real chance, especially if Eubank Jr. tires late in the fight. He concluded that if Eubank Jr. is not at his best, Benn could capitalize, making this a truly unpredictable and exciting matchup. Despite this, he emphasized that Benn's relentless pace and ability to land clean shots could be dangerous, especially if Eubank struggles with the weight cut.
I haven't got a favourite. I think the bigger man should win, but the bigger man's he's not great himself. When we talk about a good big and beats a good little man, listen, you've got to remember, Eubank's not great. And in his last fight, I thought he looked old. It's the first time I've looked at him and I thought...
in Riyadh, I agree with you. He got
Gareth, I thought he looked old.
Yeah.
I thought he looked old.
Yeah.
And if age is catching up on you, and listen, don't forget, his father has always banged on about him sparring heavyweights. When they were working together, it was always talking about he spars heavyweights, he stands there as well. That shortens your lifespan in boxing. That has an effect. And if time has now come onto it, he's 35 years old, he's struggling to make the weight, time comes onto you, you've got again, Ben might not be the biggest, everybody makes that as though he's this huge puncher. He had a portion of his career where he didn't look like a huge puncher. He had a little window where all of a sudden he was a monster.
Chris Eubank Jr., my management, has boldly predicted that Eubank Jr. will completely destroy when they eventually square off in the ring. Conor Benn feels that Benn is making a grave error by putting on a naturally larger and more skilled opponent. He also chastised Benn's promoter Eddie Hearn, saying that he ought to do more to safeguard his fighters rather than forcing them into risky fights. It's strange to me that Eubank Jr. the SS manager, stated that he sees a similar situation unfolding for Benn, who has competed at welterweight and now must contend with fighting. Benn is confident, but Eubank Jr.'s management feels that the size, strength, and experience make him a full-fledged middleweight. The gap will be too great to close. Chris is too large, too powerful, and too seasoned. Eddie's manager advised him to exercise caution while pairing his fighters because Benny won't like this.
They're making this fight on the second day 170 because they want Conor Benn to have a chance. Without it, Chris will rock him up. Chris will finish him. So Eddie Hearn is good at his job. He protects his fighters. So he thought he needs to do something here so where Conor has a bit of a chance. And that will be to tell Eubank, you're not allowed to be more than 10 pounds on the second day, which is even less than the IBF rules. So the IBF, you can be 172. Yeah. So this is no organisation does this. So obviously it's a tactic of them to try and get that little small advantage on the next day. But listen, Chris agreed to it. For me, I found it weird because the way Conor Benn was gunning for this fight, you'd think it'd be like how Kell Brook was when he fought Golovkin, just go up to middleweight and fight.
Boxing experts have talked about the history between Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn, recognizing that their fight would have been even more exciting if it had taken place earlier in their careers. Many people think that a younger version of both fighters would have made for a more competitive matchup early on. Many in the boxing world favored Benn because of his aggressive, come-forward style. His constant pressure and power made him a dangerous opponent for anyone in the welterweight and super welterweight divisions. On the other hand, Eubank Jr. has always had the advantage of experience, having faced some of the best fighters in the sport. Set him apart from Benn now, but some analysts think that time is no longer on Eubank Jr.'s side. At 34, he has fought in numerous conflicts, and some feel that he has slowed down in comparison to his prime years. Although he still possesses the skills and experience, there are questions about whether he can handle Benn's explosiveness. One expert stated that if this fight had taken place 5 years ago, the situation would have been different, but now Benn has a genuine chance.
This might be my quickest skincare empty in a while, and also my quickest restock. If you ask what's so special about this product, then you clearly haven't seen my previous reel on this product. Anyway, I don't mind doing a recap because I'm so obsessed with this product. Being an oily skin girly, my skin drinks up good lightweight serums, especially if they have niacinamide. And this little bottle, the Lakme Perfect Radiant Serum, is packed with 7% niacinamide that reduces all my post-acne spots super quick and also gives an even-toned look. And yes, obviously because of the lightweight texture, my skin instantly absorbs this without feeling greasy. In the past few months, my skin has only gotten brighter and better because I was super consistent with this, using it twice a day. If you missed out before, then this is a sign to try this ASAP.
Chris Eubank Jr. and Conor's rivalry has been a major topic in boxing, with many people wondering if their hostility is sincere or just promotional. Carl Frost, a former world champion, has weighed in and stated that the rivalry between the two fighters is real and not just a ploy to sell the fight. He cited a specific incident that highlights the true nature of their rivalry and traced its origins back to their fathers, Chris Eubank and Nigel Benn, who had a legendary rivalry in the 1990s. This legacy has added layers to the current tension between Eubank Jr. and Benn, making their interactions more intimate. He also noted that both fighters have unique personalities and fighting styles. Styles that fuel their mutual contempt. Eubank Jr.'s self-assurance and Benn's combative manner have resulted in altercations outside of the ring, further escalating their rivalry. Carl Frost thinks that Conor Benn and Chris Eubank Jr.'s animosity is sincere and motivated by personal grievances. This genuine hostility, which stems from family legacy and divergent boxing beliefs, gives their impending clash an intriguing backstory and suggests a battle that transcends simple rivalry.
I'm not sure what the genuine beef is with Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. I know they've got the history, like I mentioned, the father's name. Chris Eubank seems quite chilled and quite happy and smiley, but every time Conor Benn comes into close proximity with Chris Eubank Jr., he turns into a roadman killer, doesn't he? He's got serious beef. Every time he gets in his face, he puts it on him. Says he don't like him, he even hates him. He wants to smash his head in. I'm like, is this just selling the fight or is this genuine needle? And if it is genuine needle, what's it for? Is it why you got so much beef? Is it just because of the family name? Conor Benn could do with winning this because he's 28 years old, and moving forward he's got a potential bright future ahead of him. Chris Eubank Jr. wins this fight. I'm not sure what doors it opens for him or where it takes him at 35 years old, because in my opinion, at this age of your boxing career, then you've only got 2 or 3 years left, especially at this weight.
That concludes today's video. Watch for the next one.